Hey guys, Chris here, lead trainer at Film Editing Pro. In this video, we're going to teach you all about how to make a multicam using timecode. This is a really in-depth topic, and we have a lot to cover. But it's important to first note that in order to follow along with the technique in this video, you're going to need to have a few things on your own projects. First, some footage and some audio from your shoot, and that footage and audio would need to have matching timecode. Quick note, for a steady stream of new tutorials from professional Hollywood editors, be sure to subscribe to the Film Editing Pro channel and turn on notifications. Now, I'm going to hand this off to Brian, one of the trainers here at Film Editing Pro. He's been editing professionally for 15 years, and he's going to walk you through this lesson. All right, let's begin.
So first, let's clarify what I mean when I say multicam. In this example here, I've got footage from a short film that I'm working on and starring in, finally realizing my lifelong dream of becoming an actor in a film edited by a pro such as myself. Okay, I'm kidding, it's just that I didn't have any extra actors laying around except for these guys. But their day rate was just a bit too steep and they wanted me to pay in bacon, and they suck at operating the camera. Anyway, check out the footage.
Sound speeds, camera speeds, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm gonna clap. All right. So about last night, tell me what happened. So obviously my great acting here is the reason that Film Editing Pro just makes me do this stuff by voice only. But more importantly, what we have in this clip are two camera angles and one source of audio from my boom microphone. I can use this multicam to switch between the two camera angles while on my timeline, and these two camera angles are staying connected to my third source of audio. This is the power of a multicam. You can connect two or more sources together and combine them into a single source that lives on your timeline and acts like a regular clip. Let's take a look at how to create a multicam using timecode. We're going to be looking at a real-world scenario, complete with all of the different problems you could run into while going through this process. You'll see me get some error messages, and you won't hear me throwing my keyboard across the room, because I cut that stuff out of these videos. So, in this practical scenario, we're going to walk through all of the things you might encounter in the real world while syncing your footage. And to get started, we're going to be looking at this documentary project I'm working on. Now I have the footage from the A camera here, and I also have footage from a B camera down here. So I've got some other footage, something like this. So the first thing that I like to do when I'm going to create multicams out of my footage is to get things nice and organized. And the way to do that is to begin with color coding your cameras. Now I'm going to open up the entire tab by pushing the tilde key on my keyboard with the mouse in this panel. And that will expand the entire project tab. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up all these bins. And we're going to give all these different cameras different labels. So I'm going to select everything from the A camera group, deselect the folder by holding Command, right-click, choose Label. And just for my own purposes, I've gone ahead and renamed my label colors, so all of the purple labels always belong to A camera for me. You can use whatever you want here. And then for B camera, I'm just going to select all of these, deselect the folders, right-click, choose Label, and I'm going to do the B camera, which for me is dark blue. Now the next thing I want to check is the audio configuration of my files. So let me go back to the full screen of Premiere here. I'm going to double click on one of these files here. I've got this footage. I'm going to open up the audio tab. Now I see two tracks of audio. Now I know because I filmed this footage that we used a DSLR camera, which means it filmed in stereo. But because of the way that this camera works, it's just filming two of the exact same thing. It's not really stereo. So these are effectively just two mono tracks. Now, since the audio that we're going to be syncing to this footage will also be mono, I'm going to make all of this mono right now. So I'm going to open up this panel again and select all of my footage here. I'll deselect the folders, right-click, go down to Modify, Audio Channels. I'm going to change the preset from Use File to Mono. That'll make everything in here mono. Now, I have to keep going in and deselecting the folders every time I want to click on all of my camera clips. So what I like to do in this kind of situation is put all of my footage from a single day of shooting into its own bin. Now there is a new shortcut key in Premiere you can use. It's called Bin from Selection, and it will let you select a bunch of stuff in your bin, push that shortcut key, and it makes everything into one bin together. So I'll call this Footage for Syncing. Close that up, much easier. I'll put that back in my footage folder. Now I don't need to keep these original camera roll folders. Get rid of that. I also have some audio here. So let's take a look. I have some audio files from my audio mixer from the shoot. Let's just check those out as well. I'm going to double click this. Looks like a mono track. Let me just play a little bit of it.
Opportunities for the employees to take on more and more responsibility.
That sounds like an interview. And this looks like it's going to be more interview.
And yet,
very good. And then some of this down here, that looks like it might just be some wild sounds. Take a listen. That's just some factory floor wild sounds, it seems like. Let me just move that audio down to the same bin I used for my footage in Footage for Syncing so that it's easy to select all of it together. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to select everything in this bin. So I've got all of my audio and all of my video files. I'm going to right click and say Create Multi-Camera Source Sequence. I'm going to choose to sync by timecode because I know that we had running timecode on the cameras and on the audio for this shoot. Now there is this checkbox down here that's going to help you out. Move source clips to processed clips bin. If I were to check this box right here, when I click OK, everything that gets synced up is going to get moved to another bin, which will isolate it from the stuff that does not get synced up. Now, I personally don't like to use this because I have my own method for finding those clips, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But I want to point this out to you in case you like this method. So I have my timecode toggle selected. I'm going to use an automatic sequence preset and let Premiere do the work for me. And down here under the audio section, I'm going to leave it as camera 1 for my sequence settings, and I'm going to use an automatic channel preset, which will be based on the audio that it's syncing into the sequence. And this information down here, camera names with enumerate cameras, track names, and clip names, this just has to do with the way that the information will be displayed when you have the grid of cameras that you're looking at if you turn on the overlays. So if you're not doing that and it doesn't matter to you, this toggle won't affect you in any way. Now let's go ahead and click OK. So we have this error message, audio synchronize failure. So we have to figure out what went wrong and why, because we still have to figure out which clips need to be synced together and which ones do not. So we're going to get into more detail on that in just a second. But let's go ahead and figure out what's happening here first. Click OK. Let me expand my bin here. Now what I have is a bunch of multicams here at the bottom. And I have all of my clips here in the bin, untouched. So this is all the original footage that was in there with the audio and these new multicams. So how are we going to figure out what happened? Well, there is a piece of metadata that I can add to my columns up here that's really going to help us out. Let me just right click on my column, choose metadata display. I'm going to type in video usage right there. I'm going to check it and click OK. Now I have this new tab right here, and it shows me which of these clips has been used. So as I scroll up here, I can see some of them have a number and some of them don't. So the ones with a 1 have been used somewhere. And if I were to click on that 1, it'll tell me where it was used. So this clip right here is being used in Multicam 15, right down here. Now what I have to figure out is why some of these clips did not get used. And I could go in and try to do that by hand. I can double click on this one. Okay, it's a person walking down a hallway. All right, interesting. All right, and I see that this guy is holding a camera, so maybe the camera operator here is filming and this person is not filming, so we have to go find the other footage from the B camera, which will be blue, see if that matches up. So it's a different hallway, it looks like. So these don't match up, and we could go through each one of these by hand and try to figure it out on our own. But with all these missing clips, that could really take a while. So instead, what I like to do is I like to make a sync map. Now, a sync map just kind of shows you the entire sync of everything throughout the day, including what does and does not line up. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of all of these multicams because they're not going to work. We haven't really QC'd them and checked them out, so we don't know if they're any good or not. I'm just going to get rid of them. And everything's back to having no usage in its column. Now, before we make that sync map, I just want to tell you something kind of cool. You can right-click on metadata display here, and you can save these settings as a custom. So I have a bunch of these custom settings here that I use. For example, usage slim has video usage and audio usage and a bunch of other very important information that I like to use. So I'm going to keep this active. You can also come up here to the hamburger menu and choose Save as New View Preset. And you can recall those presets later on if you need to. This is a really good way to stay organized as you're working. So let's make that sync map. Let me explain what a sync map is first. A sync map is when you take all of the footage from the day's worth of filming, all of the video and all of the audio, and you line it up together based on the timecode into a single sequence, so that you can kind of look at the entire sync as a bit of a map. It's really useful in that it helps you to see what was filmed that day and what belongs together. It's also very useful for diagnosing what needs to be put into a multicam and what doesn't. We're about to get into that shortly. It's also the easiest way to compare the daily shooting logs to the footage that you've received. And it's also a good place to find and remedy any issues that are present because you can skim the footage really easily in this sequence. So let's go ahead and make that sync map. I've got everything selected here. I'm going to right click, choose Create Multi-Camera Source Sequence, choose Timecode again, but this time I'm going to choose Create Single Multi-Camera Source Sequence. And it's going to ask me track assignments. Now, I haven't done this, so we're going to find out what happens with this selected. Click OK. All right, so I've got a single multi-camera source sequence. Let me just right-click and say Open in Timeline. This will open up a timeline of my multicams, but this looks a little bit weird. I would expect to see that the B camera would be on the second video track, and the A camera would be on the first video track, and that the audio would be stacked so that they don't overlap each other. Let me just come over here to the sequence here. So it looks like I have some weird situations where the B camera is actually being cut off by the A camera. Well, let me tell you what happened. I'm going to delete this multicam here. Here's where we went wrong, and we're going to fix it right now. I'm going to select everything one more time, create multi-camera source sequence, go back to that same menu, choose timecode, choose to create a single multi-camera source sequence, and look at this track assignments. We have camera angle, and there are a couple of other options. We can choose none, camera label, or camera angle. We're missing an important piece of metadata here that will tell Premiere how to stack those cameras. Now, camera angle is the one that I like to use. So we're going to back out of this menu for a second, and we're going to apply that metadata. Let me collapse this window. I'm going to open up my metadata tab. I'm going to select everything from the A camera here, which is this pink clip. I'm going to right-click, choose Label, and say Select Label Group. This will select all of the clips that are pink, and not the blue or the green clips. And I can go to the camera angle window here, and just type in A for camera A. Now it's done applying it. I'm going to go down to a blue clip here, right-click, Label, Select Label Group, and do the same process. And the same process for our sound. We're going to call this sound. Okay, it's been applied. So now let's go back and select everything here. Right-click, choose Create Multi-Camera Source Sequence, create Single Multi-Camera Source Sequence by camera angle, and click OK. And this time, when we choose to open it in timeline, that looks a lot better. And we're starting to get a real sense of what happened throughout the day's worth of filming. For example, I'm just checking this out here. A bunch of clips were filmed sometime in the morning, around 9:17 a.m. Then there was a bit of a break, and then we conducted an interview. The interview started around 9:36 a.m. and went for about half an hour. We wrapped up around 10 a.m. Looks like there's some audio files here. Sounds like some factory wild sound. Then we moved another 10 minutes to another part of the factory, filmed some other factory footage with A camera and B camera filming sort of simultaneously. But in some cases, it looks like the B camera here is filming some close-ups of something. I'll just disable this for a second. While the A camera is filming something completely different. So these things actually, for example, would not need to be put into a multicam because they are not really continuous in that they don't show the exact same footage and do not need to be locked in time together. Unlike something like an interview here, which should be a multicam because we have the B camera up here. I'll just disable this and show the A camera down here. And then we have the sound right here. So all of this belongs together in a multicam. And then we come back here, we had a bit of a break, perhaps we took lunch around 10:30. We kept filming some more stuff, and then we did a little bit more audio work here at the end. This is what makes a sync map so useful and for me so vital in the syncing process. Now, from this sync map here, we should be able to tell how many multicams we're actually going to need to create and what they should actually contain inside of them. So we can go through and spot check the multicams. So as we saw earlier, we have this shot of this person walking down the hallway. And then later on, we have this shot of this person walking down the hallway. Same guy. Looks like maybe we swapped cameras for this. And then we kept going down a different hallway here. So these things do not need to be a multicam at all, because they don't really share footage that connects them. Back here, let's see what we have. We have this camera here filming this machine. It's pretty cool, factory footage. Then we have this machine. So they are two totally different machines, and we don't have to connect them into a multicam. Now I know that there's definitely going to be footage here that we have to connect, and I'm just trying to find out what it is as I go through and look. For example, these three people talking together. It would be great if the A camera also filmed them from a different angle, but it looks like at that same time, the A camera was filming this conveyor belt. So these would not need to be a multicam either. I can kind of keep going through here and looking at stuff to see where I do and do not need to make multicams out of things. Maybe this right here. Nope, this does not need to be one. And so I'm going to go through the entire sequence here and start to map out where there does and does not need to be multicams by checking each clip against each other and seeing if they really do line up or if they don't. If they don't line up, I'm just going to keep them as individual clips without being turned into a multicam. And if they do line up for some reason, I will make them a multicam because it would be more beneficial to me while editing to have those things synced up together. Especially for things like this interview here, where I definitely have one camera, another camera, and a source of audio. So what I've gone ahead and done is I've left a marker where I know I need to make a multicam. So there's a clip back here that should be a multicam. I'm going to make a marker for each one of these interview clips. So this tells me right now I'm going to need a total of 4 multicams. Now there's a couple of different ways I can go about creating those multicams. The first solution that I have is to take the multicam that I've already created with the entire sequence and just duplicate it as many times as I need, clearing out what I don't need from the duplicates. So I can go ahead and I can just right click and say duplicate. And I have a shortcut key for this, so duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. So I have 4 of them now. I can open all of them in timeline. And I have all of them open. And so from number 4, since this is the 4th one, I would just delete everything to the right and delete everything to the left. And I would now have a multicam with just this one item inside of it. I'll just get rid of those markers. And I'll clear up this gap, put it at the very beginning, just like that. And if I wanted to get really precise, I can come to the hamburger menu here and choose Start Time. And then I can say, uncheck the default for future sequences and say Set by First Clip. This will make the time code of this sequence equal to the first clip in the sequence. That way we can still use time code on our clips to find out when they occurred in the day's worth of shooting. So this is one method, and I would do this for number 3 here by just removing everything to the right of it, everything to the left of it, putting this at the beginning, start time, first clip, and then get rid of those markers. Now I have shortcut keys for all of this because I do this very often. So it's a pretty quick process for me. And we are all done making individual multicams from that sync map. Now there is another solution, and it can be a little bit quicker if you happen to have a ton more clips that you have to sync up. So I only had 4 here. It didn't take me too long to do, but there are many occasions where I could have 100. And that could take a long time, especially if you have 100 and there's a lot of these orange markers up there trying to indicate which one you're supposed to be looking for in the multicam that you're trying to clear out. So what I do instead is this for much larger batches. Now, just to make it a little bit clearer, I'm going to pretend for a second that we're going to make more multicams than we actually are, just so you can see what happens when things get really complicated. So I've gone ahead and made markers for basically everywhere where there are overlapping clips. And you can see that it's a lot more complex now to try and keep in your mind which one is number 1, 2. Eventually when you get into the middle here, you're like, wait, is this number 7 or 9 or I don't remember. So what I do instead is I take 2 clips and the necessary associated audio for those clips that I know are going to sync together. Just like this. So I have these right here. So these are all going to belong together. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to make a new blank multicam that should take care of all of the settings that we need for the multicam to work successfully with all of the proper audio channel mapping already set up for us. So in this scenario, we need 2 different kinds of multicams. We need one that takes care of the audio configuration for the interview here, which has 2 cameras and a source of mono audio. And we also are going to need a multicam for the 2 pieces of footage that have no audio that belongs with them, just the camera scratch audio here. So we have to make two different kinds of multicams right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and match frame this by pushing F on my keyboard to the source, and I can right click and say reveal in project. That's from the A camera. Now I'm going to take another clip, any clip, from the B camera. Since they're all the exact same here in the timeline, they're just stereo clips. So I'll take this A camera clip, and I'm going to command click a B camera clip, any one of them, right click, create multi-camera source sequence, and we're going to say use endpoints. This will force it to make a multicam even if they don't sync up. It's just going to sync them up by their endpoints. I'm going to use all of the preset settings, including the audio settings from camera 1, and click OK. And here's the multicam, no error messages. Now if I were to go ahead and right click and say open in timeline, it's just these two clips synced up by their endpoints. I'm going to just delete these. And now I have this blank multicam that's going to work really well for copying and pasting my A and B camera clips into it. And I'm going to make it even better. I'm just going to type copy 01 here. This way, when I make a duplicate, because Premiere is a little bit dumb about the way it names things as it duplicates them, if I were to right click and say duplicate, and then keep using my shortcut key to do that, it's just going to say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's just going to make a very short file name called copy and then a number. So if I needed 30 or 100 of these, it would be really easy to just, make a bunch of copies. So what I would then do is just go ahead and open all of those copies that I need in timeline. So they're all open here. Go up to my multicam here and just start at the very beginning and go in order. Copy these into copy number 1 and paste. And there we go. We have a multicam that's pretty much good to go. Now we can go ahead and click on the hamburger menu and say start time or use your shortcut key and say set by first clip. And we're going to have a perfectly time-coded multicam. And we would go ahead and do this for the entire rest of the sequence. If you get really fast with your shortcut keys, this process takes very little time at all. It's very easy to do. Bit of a pain in the butt, but it's going to work pretty well for you. So I'll just take care of the rest now. Now before I move along, I'm going to skip over the 3 interview clips. They need their own special multicam with its own audio configuration that is specific to this one mono track of audio for the interview. So we're going to make our own multicam just for these clips here a little bit later on. Let me just finish the rest of this sequence here. Okay, great. So now I am all done copying and pasting the clips into my multicams, and I just need to make a new multicam just for this interview. So what I can do here is I can find this clip in the bin, so match frame, and then I have a shortcut key for reveal in project, so 2848. Then I can do the same thing here, find reveal in project, so 2848 and 4955, and they go with this audio file here, 19Y08 M16D0001. So we'll just find that really quickly. There it is. I'll command click it. So now we have the 2 clips selected and the audio selected. Right click and create multi-camera source sequence. I'm going to choose by timecode this time because we know they sync up together by timecode. And I'll use a automatic sequence preset and click OK. Okay, great. Now I have the interview multicam. I can right click and open it in timeline to check it out. And it looks really good here. I can see even where he claps the slate. So all the audio lines up really nicely. Now here's the thing about the interview I want to point out to you. This is all one single interview, and though it is broken up by a little bit of a gap, it doesn't really matter because we're not too concerned about the very specific time code of this interview. We just know that this interview all belongs together. It's all with the same interview subject. So I can actually take all of this interview and just copy it from my sync map and just overwrite it in here and paste it. So I have the entire interview in a single multicam. No need to make an individual multicam for each start and stop of the interview. When you're doing a documentary style project, interviews start and stop all the time, so it's pretty common to see these gaps. So now we have all of our multicams that we just created, all the ones that are called copies 1 through 12. We have the one that we just created with the interview, and we have the sync map. Now let's go ahead and get organized because we got a little bit sloppy here and we should rename all of this. So we'll call this sync map. We'll call this one interview. I might say the name of the subject. We'll say Bob Jones here. And then I have the names of the other multicams. Now I usually like to use the date when I'm doing documentary projects because oftentimes the date lets you know kind of what happened on that day of filming. If you were the one filming it, you might remember the date, Or if you were filming in some sort of chronological order, you would know this event occurred before this event or after that event. So I'm going to say 19 is the year, -08 is the month, -16 is the day, underscore multicam 01. I'll just go ahead and copy and paste this to the rest. So multicam 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. And I can put all those multicams into their own folder together as well. So I can select the multicams here in my bin, put them into their own folder, multicams. Now let me show you what I usually do next with that sync map, because we're not quite done organizing our footage from the day's worth of shooting. Let me go ahead and just right-click and open this up in Timeline. Show you the whole thing. Now in our scenario here, we've created multicams for various clips in the timeline. I'm going to go ahead and make a new sequence. So I'll just say new sequence. I'll use my ProRes sequence preset, and I'll call this my selects sequence. Now this is just a blank timeline. I'm going to go into my sync map here. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste everything. Now, an interesting note, the markers came along with my footage. You can go up to the markers menu and choose copy paste includes sequence markers and have that checked. That way it'll copy the markers when you copy and paste clips in your timelines. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and remove any of the clips here that are under the orange and replace them with the multicam. So this would be multicam number 1 because it's the first one, just right there. This is number 2. So number 3 is right here. Great. And I'm going to go through the entire sequence and just go ahead and get this all cleaned up. So the multicams replace the clips that are sitting in the timeline. I can go ahead and clear out those markers now since I don't need them any longer. And the next thing I want to do is I want to get all of this footage onto one track, because it's going to be a little bit easier to work with later on. So I'm going to get all the B camera clips here down to the first track, along with the A camera clips, get all the audio from the A camera clips, put on the first track as well, which we can do by right-clicking and saying Label, select Label Group. It'll select all of the A camera clips in the timeline, and it can move all the audio to the first track together, since there would have been nothing underneath it there. Now where I have this sort of overlap, and I said this does not need to be a multicam, because this does not film the exact same footage at the same time, I'm just going to put the B camera clips in front of the A camera clip. Put the audio down there. Maybe we can close up those gaps. So we're trying to just make a string out of basically everything that we had in our sequence now. So all these B camera clips can come down here. Close those gaps up. And again, anything with an overlap, we can just put it in front or behind, wherever it fits the best. Here's the interview. Some wild tracks of audio. And then back here we have a little bit of overlapping clips. We're just going to go ahead and get those cleaned up as well. So now we have a sequence with all of the footage from the day organized together with clips that belong together, put into a multicam, clips that don't belong together just strung out in the order that they occurred, and the interview that we filmed from that day's worth of filming. Now these multicams are great. They function just like normal clips, so you can go ahead and make cuts with them. You can raise them, you can lower them, you can do whatever you want with them. They basically work just like regular clips. But the cool thing about the multicam is I can switch the different camera angles inside of it. So if I were to switch to camera number 2 here, this is camera 1, this is camera 2. And I'm pushing 1 and 2 on my keyboard to go ahead and make those switches. If you want to actually see what's in those cameras live, you can come up to your program monitor and choose Toggle Multicamera View. Click on that, and you've got a live view of what's inside of the multicam, both cameras 1 and camera 2. Now, something else that's really, really cool, and I'm going to show you that with the interview here. So I'm going to listen to this interview. I have the close-up camera, and I have the wider camera angle. Now, oftentimes during interviews, we're cutting back and forth between two cameras, just like this.
Well, I think the forming of the ESOP.
So I might stop here, I might make a cut, might switch to the other camera angle, okay.
When Gordon sold the company to the employees, and
I might make a cut right here and go back to this angle here.
we had
But it's kind of hard to do, and you're not getting that flow and that feel as you're going through it. So here is something really cool that you can do with multicams while you're cutting. So first, in your program monitor, you want to make sure that you have this red record button available to you. And if you don't, you can come to the little plus icon here to the button editor. You can choose to drag it and just drag it in here, just like that. So you'll have that button available to you. Click OK. Now turn on the red record button while the toggle multi-camera view is enabled. So now I'm going to turn this button on. And when I start playing, I'm going to switch the cameras. And you're going to see that this yellow box will turn red. Now I'm going to do that for a little bit of his interview here.
Then we had 100% of the company owned by the employees. And we always had a can-do attitude. We always had a spirit of sharing the profits and the gains with our employees through profit sharing. And the ESOP was a culmination where...
Okay, cool. Now, here is the awesome thing. When I stop playback during the interview, all of those decisions that I made switching cameras have been recorded onto the clip, and all those cuts have been made for me. So if I watch it back now...
Then we had 100% of the company owned by the employees. And we always had a can-do attitude. We always had a spirit of sharing the profits and the gains with our employees through profit sharing. And the ESOP was a culmination where...
It's a pretty cool and it's a very powerful tool. So let me go ahead and just get rid of all those cuts, because I want to show you the next step in what I do when I'm putting together a project like this. So I have this selects sequence here, and it has all of my multicams, and it has all of my footage from that day's worth of filming, and it has this interview here. Now, if I have a lot of interviews in a project, I will put them in their own individual timeline. But in this case, this is actually my only interview for this very short manufacturing project. So I'll keep it just in here. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go up to my main bin here. I'm going to make a new bin for sequences. I'm going to make a new sequence, and I'll call this main editing sequence. Now, normally my main editing sequence would have a lot more tracks and a lot more different audio tracks, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to keep it really simple for you. I'm going to turn off the multi-camera view for a second. I'm going to close up these other tabs. I'm going to come down to my multi-camera bin here. I'm going to take my selects sequence and I'm going to toss it up in the source monitor. Now from the source monitor, I can go ahead to the wrench icon and say open sequence in timeline. Now, what I've done is I've opened up an instance of this sequence that's in the source monitor. So watch me drag the source monitor. So just like source editing, where you're editing from the source into your timeline, I am literally doing that right now. And here's my main editing sequence. So just like you might go up here, make an in point, make an out point, and then cut that into your sequence, that's what we're doing. But I'm going to take it one step further, because all I've effectively done here is taken a nest of this sequence and dropped it in here. I don't want a nest of that sequence. I want the actual footage from that sequence to come through. So there's a button we can check to make that happen. So up here on the top left, this button has probably always been blue for you. You may have never touched it. Well, let me just show you here. It says insert and overwrite sequences as nests or individual clips. Let me go ahead and uncheck that. Now, my source patching has completely changed. I'll turn on all of my source patching. I'm going to drag this into my timeline now, and look what came through, the actual original clip that I selected. And to take it even one step further, if I were to open up this timeline here, I can even zoom in on the section that I'm working on. I can find the clip that I want, like this multicam. So this little camera move is nice. That's really cool with that little machine going like that. I can make an out point, come back to my main editing sequence, go in here, and I can do an insert edit with the period key. That's going to cut the multicam into my sequence. And now I have this multicam in my editing sequence where I can use the 1 and 2 keys to switch the cameras. That's also going to work for the interview. For example, I might come in here.
When we first started talking, the main proposition was we had a chance to combine our forces and develop the strongest, most powerful healthcare manufacturer in the world.
That's a really great quote. Let's go ahead and cut that in right here. And that brings in just the interview. And I can do the same process of turning on my multi-camera view, turning on the record button, pushing play.
Talking, the main proposition was we had a chance to combine our forces and develop the strongest, most powerful healthcare manufacturer in the world.
And now with those cuts on my timeline, I can go ahead and close up the multi-camera view and get rid of the uhs and the ums. So he says, so I just cut that out because I switched cameras.
Addition was we had a chance to combine our
We have a little bit of a gap here. So he says, after that. Close up that gap as well.
Our forces and develop the strongest, most powerful healthcare manufacturer in the world.
And now it's a really great sounding quote. You could even take this timeline here and set it up to pancake edit if you like that. So you can take this, drag it as if you're going to reposition it, and then place it above your other timeline. So now you're going to have a view of the source timeline above your editing timeline. So I could do this here. I could move the playhead.
Well, we've been working together now a year, and I think we've done a great job in this first year.
Okay, great. I can come down here and I can insert it just like that. So it's a really super powerful and effective way of working. Now, if you're still interested in what's happening, I have a bit of a bonus tip for you that I want to show you, because this is all documentary footage, and you might be saying, well, I only have a short film with one camera. Why on earth would I do all of this stuff? So I want to show you what this process is going to look like with a single camera from an actual narrative film project. Let me go ahead and close up these sequences here, and we're going to start from scratch with a narrative film project. So here we have footage from a short film called Fingerprints. And I have a slate label, I have scene 4B take 2, and I have actual audio clips that are called 4B take 2, so that makes it really easy to put these things together. Now, the other cool thing is that these audio clips are going to have a lot more tracks. So we're going to see what a multicam looks like when you have to sync up more tracks of audio. So let me go ahead and just open this up here and see what we have. We have all of these video clips, and I have some audio clips, so there's really no need to color code these the way we did before. You can if you want to, but it's not necessary. I am going to go ahead and add that camera angle metadata, though, like we did before. So I'm going to give all of the sound files by right-clicking, saying label, select label group, metadata, go to the camera angle here, and type sound. And then down here for the camera, we'll say right-click, label, select label group, and we'll just say camera A. Okay, great. Now they have the camera angle metadata, because the next step is going to be to select it all, right-click, multi-camera source sequence, create single multi-camera source sequence, use camera angle for the track assignments, and click OK. This will give us our sync map. I'm going to open this in the timeline here, and we have what looks like a more traditional narrative day's worth of filming. So we have some shots filmed in the morning, and we can clearly see what is in sync and what is not. Let me just expand the timeline. So it's really easy to see there's some overlapping elements here that definitely line up. So everything's lining up really nicely. Just like that. Okay. So I'm going to select all of the clips, right-click, create multi-camera source sequence, choose timecode, and click OK. And we're going to get this error message again. So unfortunately, this wasn't a perfect situation either. And this is going to be very common, and I like to show this to you because you are probably going to run into this as you are doing your own projects. So let's go ahead and undo all these multicams. I'm just going to delete them. I'll select everything again, multi-camera source sequence, choose timecode, and we're going to make the sync map this time. So create a single multi-camera source sequence by camera angle, click OK, and we're going to open up that sync map here. Okay, so we can definitely see what's happening. I have a couple of scenarios where I have some video clips here, like these shots, that do not have any audio underneath them. I have some audio here that does not have any video above it. And back here, I have clips that are completely misaligned. So let me just check and see. This is 4G take 1. And if I come over here to the wrench and say show audio names, I can see that this is supposed to be 4G take 1, but for some reason, they don't have matching timecode. This is probably because what was happening is that the crew took lunch right here, and they forgot to jam sync the camera to the audio a second time. Now, jam syncing is simply when you take the audio recording device and you run a cable into the camera, and the audio device feeds its timecode to the camera. Unfortunately, it's not a super stable system, so you do have to refresh it every couple of hours. They typically do it at lunch. If you don't resync it up, you can have audio drift. So it looks like they had some audio drift here and then realized it before the next shot and synced it back up again. So we have two solutions that we can use to go ahead and quickly put this together. What I can do is I can either make as many multicams as I need duplicated from this sync map, and then just delete what I don't need out of it. So I could probably make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 multicams. Or it can make one blank multicam and duplicate it 23 times and then copy and paste the contents into it. However, because we know that a lot of this is actually going to sync up pretty much perfectly, instead of doing that, I want to let Premiere do most of the work so I don't have to do all of this manually. So here's what I'm going to do instead. I'm going to indicate all of the clips here that do not belong in a multicam. That would be these shots, which appear to just be B-roll without audio. And there's no slate either. And I have these audio clips here. Let's see what they are. I'm going to turn on the audio clip names. So we're not really sure what these are, but they don't seem to sync up to anything. And then back here, what I have is room tone and voiceover. So anything that does not sync up, like this clip right here, and these clips right here, and like this clip right here. I'm going to right click, go to label, and make them a color that I'm not currently using, like dark green or brown or yellow. Let's do dark green. Now in my bin here, if I expand my bin, I'm going to right click on this green clip and say label, select label group. I'm going to put them all in their own bin together and say no sync. So we know that those don't sync up to anything. And then these clips right here, we know that they do need to get synced up together, but they're not going to sync by timecode. So we're going to go ahead and just make these a different label color. Label, let's make these yellow. And we'll put them in their own folder here to sync up. So we'll say sync by hand. Everything else, however, is going to sync up just perfectly. So let's go ahead and just get rid of the sync map. We don't need it anymore. We can select all of the audio, select all of the video here, create multi-camera source sequence, choose timecode, and if I were to click OK, everything is going to sync up perfectly because these were all of the clips left in the sync map that did not look misaligned. Yep, perfect. All of them are synced. Now, you can see that they all have video usage and audio usage. So this tells me that they are all being used in the multicams. Now, I'm going to just undo that for a quick second because I wanted to show you this other toggle. So I'm going to select all of those again, deselect that folder, create multi-camera source sequence. And this time, I'm going to choose to move source clips to processed clips bin. I'm going to do the same process of clicking OK. And right there, it took all of the clips that do sync up, put them in a bin called processed clips. There they are, and left my multicams in place. Now all I have to do is take the clips that don't sync up and take them back out of this folder here. And then take the sync by hand clips and sync them up together on my own. So I'm going to go ahead and make a multi-camera source sequence, but this time, since we do not have matching timecode, we can either try to use the audio, or we can just use endpoints and manually sync it. So let's use endpoints here. We'll click OK. It'll automatically make a perfect multicam. I'm going to go ahead and open this in the timeline, turn off the audio names. I'm going to look for the slate clap. So there's the slate clap right there. And we're going to listen for the slate clap now. I find it easier to do that in the source monitor. So I'll match frame the audio into the source and I'll listen to things here.
Camera. Everyone settle.
And it's right there. You can hear the AC calling out 4G take 1 and then mark. There's the clap. We can just cut this back into our sequence here, right at the clap, right there. Drag it out if you want to. Get rid of those extra cuts that we don't need, and everything should be nice and synced up. We can even return the labels back to what they were before. So this will be video, and this label will be audio. And it looks nice and normal, and we have another perfect multicam. So there's the multicam. And here are some more process clips. They can go in the process clips bin. Get rid of this unnecessary bin now. And now we have our day's worth of shooting with all of the clips that do not sync up and all of the clips that do sync up. So what you could do is you can go and make a new sequence. We can name this, day 2 or day 3, whatever the day's worth of shooting this is. And we'll say sync sequence. We can get all of this footage in there together, but not the process clips and not the sequence. What I like to do is I like to just go through and relabel these shots based on the slate label. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on selection follows playhead from the sequence menu, and I have a shortcut key for rename. And I'm going to go 4G-01. And then I'll find, here we have 04H-01.
No.
4A-01. And I would go through and do this for all of the shots so that they're all nice and labeled. And so on and so forth. So we'd have scene, shot, and take. And then once that's done, the bin will show all of that information, just like this. And I'm ready to edit my scene. So it might seem like a lot of work. It's a pretty long tutorial to talk you through how to just simply make a multicam. But if you get into a situation where you have one of these error messages, you might have no clue what to do next or how to actually sync these things up. So it's really important to see this process from the lens of this is a real scenario where these things could actually happen and you're going to have to learn how to deal with them somehow. So hopefully this gave you a lot of really valuable information on how to troubleshoot and work through some of these processes and also teach you some neat tricks along the way.
Hey there! For tons more free editing training, head over to our website at filmeditingpro.com/free training. Here you can download free editing guides along with high-quality video training courses created by our team of professional Hollywood editors. Our tutorials cover a wide range of editing topics, like cutting awesome movie trailers, editing action scenes, how to work with music and sound design, and a lot more. All of these free guides and videos are available at filmeditingpro.com/free training. I'll see you next time.